Straw Hat Luffy, the future king of the pirates, the savior of the helpless, and an absolute menace to maritime law. Believe me when I say this pirate leaves behind a trail of chaos almost as massive as his appetite. But today, we're not here to cheer on his adventures, quite the contrary. We're here to grab the law books, dust them off, and throw them right at him. Let's break down just how many lifetimes Luffy's earned behind bars. We know Luffy loves food. The man's got a stomach like a black hole and zero chill when it comes to eating. But sometimes that never-ending hunger lands him in hot water, literally and legally. Take the Ohanaha incident, for example. Smoker, our favorite cigar chomp and Marine, was busy with Ace, who was just casually chilling at a restaurant. Then bam, Luffy bursts onto the scene like a wrecking ball with no brakes. My dude shoves Smoker and Ace so hard that they go flying through not one, but two walls. And what does Luffy do after completely wrecking the place? Oh, he just keeps eating like nothing happened. No apology, no hesitation, just chowing down while Smoker's in the corner trying to process the madness that just went down. To make things worse, Smoker immediately recognizes Luffy, but as for Luffy, well, there's food in front of him. What else is he gonna do, but eat? Damn it. So what the hell was that? But the second Luffy realizes Smoker's locked onto him, he's out of there faster than Zoro getting lost on a straight pad. They didn't pay. Listen, and did you notice? Luffy didn't even pay for his food or clean up the mess. Come on, dude, take a lesson from your brother Ace. At this he knows his manners. Now here's the thing. Dining and dashing isn't just rude, it's a crime. In the real world, that little sunk will end you up to 6 months in jail. Honestly, it's a miracle this dude hasn't been banned from every restaurant in the Grand Line. I've seen a lot of anime protagonists in my day, but Luffy, he's a very special case, especially when it comes to women. There's not a single moment where you see him simping, swooning, or even glancing at them the wrong way. Now before you think, oh maybe he's just a gentleman, let me stop you right there. It's not that Luffy's got any respect for the ladies, nah, he's just completely clueless about how to act around them. Yeah, I eat herbs so awesome I can hug it forever, I'll never forget this. And here's another example. Nanya was sistenda. Iruta sokuyo da yo. So initial fight, this utter lack of awareness and not giving a single care leads to situations where he just straight up breaks a few laws, like the time he ended up literally flying into Amazon Lula. And the citizens find out he's not a girl because, it's pretty obvious. It tossed him into a cage and naked as the day he was born, and this is where Luffy shows the girls his treasure, Oh, it's my treasure. That's why I always gotta keep him safe. Treasure? Ladies, let's just stop right here. You're all entering dangerous territory right now. But seriously, for flaunting his naked body all over them, Luffy could be charged with indecent exposure, and let me tell you, that can land him a year on the slammer. Nami and Robin, seriously, you two gotta teach this guy some basic manners. Now, Luffy's not exactly known for being a villain to animals. In fact, sometimes he's pretty good at treating them better than he does humans. I mean, if he wasn't, there's no way Char'd still be a part of the crew, right? But there's just one teeny-weeny moment where Luffy straight up uses violence against an animal. It all goes down after Luffy escapes Captain Smoker's grasp, but the crew's next challenge is getting past the reverse mountain to officially enter the Grand Line. They struggle a bit, but with the Going Merry's help, they finally make it. But wait, just they're about to celebrate, they run into a big problem. Luffy, you think you can break my special seat? Get away with that? Take that. Not the warmest of welcomes for the Straw Hats, huh? And how does Luffy deal with it? Oh, he uses his brilliant brain and lands a big punch straight to Laboon's eye. By the way, the name of the whale's Laboon. I'm not through with you. There's a lot more of that shit before you kill it. I mean, what did you expect, fellas? You should have seen this coming. Nami's reaction's the only real clue that she kinda knew this was coming anyway. Oh, and by the way, in case you didn't guess, the whole punch in the eye thing didn't end up working. The whale just sucks them into its belly, all thanks to Luffy's help. I am not gonna die. Look, let's call it what it is. It's animal cruelty, and this kind of thing can land Luffy 7 years behind bars. So next time, Straw Hats, maybe let someone else handle the animal care, okay? As a pirate, we all know Luffy's gonna do some pretty piratey things. And let's be real, theft, pretty much a pirate's bread and butter. But Luffy, he's not just stealing random trinkets, oh no. He's going for the big stuff, the kind of loot that'll make waves across the 7 seas. I mean, if you want to be king of the pirates, you're gonna have to pull off some seriously major heists. And Luffy's all about those big dramatic moves. As he says, I'm a pirate, not a hero. Hero. Hell no. Barward. Obviously because we're pirates. Come on. Heroes are great. But I'm not one. For anyone thinking about defending him in the comments, try defending not one. Just kidding, feel free to share your thoughts, guys. But back to business, Luffy's first major seal goes all the way back to his childhood. Shanks had just returned from a long voyage, and of course he came back with some valuable loot. You could ever be a pirate. Boy, couldn't I? Ugh. As usual, the moment Luffy sees Shanks, the only thing going on in his mind is joining his crew. Swimmer and all, but that doesn't mean you'd make a good pirate, Luffy. But I'm a great fighter, too. My punches are like 2 pistols. Ha, are there now? What's that supposed to mean? Look at this kid, how is he even planning to survive a single day with that tiny body of his? But to everyone's surprise, Luffy's about to get a power boost, and it's not exactly natural. While everyone's enjoying drinks at the bar, Luffy stumbles upon a box with the devil fruit in it, and without a second thought, takes a bite. Bling, where you're staking. He sure did, man. And that's the first big theft of his life. But wait, there's more. Luffy's second major heist happens when he's on the run from Impel Down. And this time he doesn't just swipe a small item, he steals an entire marine ship. Why? Because time is running out and he needs to get to Marineford ASAP. So what does he do? He sends Jinbei, Crocodile, and Boogie to steal the ship while Luffy stays behind to hold off the chief warden. Mabait, you ordered in that. More to the people today, Jigamapjoya. Simao. Kuniastadi Siguwatada. And guess what? They pull it off. Jinbei, with some of the help of his whale buddies, manages to get everyone onto the ship and out of there. That's right, you're free. And thanks to who? Say it loud. Captain Bungie. Yo, Bungie, don't take the credit for this one. It was Luffy and his new allies who planned and pulled off his escape successfully. In both cases, Luffy committed grand larceny. While he didn't exactly steal in the traditional sense, under the law, this is still a crime. He could be sentenced up to 6 years in prison for each offense, so that's a total of 12 years in the Slimer. Let's just hope Luffy doesn't end up back in Impel Down anytime soon. But knowing him, the odds of that happening pretty high. There's one thing that happens in nearly every One Piece arc. And no, it's not Luffy doing something completely ridiculous. Hey Kobe, who's the badly? Oh hey, it looks like you have something around your mouth there. Oh, I forgot about the crabs. I knew it was you. Huh? But to be honest, that happens quite a lot. And no, it's also not the crew splitting up in different directions to stretch out the plot either. Oh, and it's definitely not Zoro getting lost as usual. How'd this happen? The path is gone. How in the hell can anyone get lost in a path like this when you could see the old man at the end of it? Even your sense of direction can't be that bad. Hide his sword. It'll be fun, I thought. Use your negative hollow to make him depressed. That'll be hilarious. Only I had to tell him where his sword was, and 2 days later, he still can't find it. When you think about it, there's actually a whole bunch of recurring stuff that happens in every arc, but there's one thing we always overlook: escaping arrest. Take a moment to count on your fingers how many times these goofballs resist arrest, and I bet you'll need both hands, maybe your partner's fingers too, or some extra digits, I don't know. But in all seriousness, escaping arrest is a reoccurring crime Luffy and his crew commit from the very beginning when they're dodging Captain Smoker. It's you. Yeah. The latest arc on Egghead Island, spoilers, where Luffy's dodging Lucci's arrest orders with Vegapunk tagging along. The streak continues. Chimodozu. Yup. Durskani. Luffy, buddy, you've got such a sharp memory. And if my calculations are right, out of the 32-ish arcs in One Piece, there's at least 14 of them where Luffy tries to resist arrest. That's 14 years behind bars, folks. I know resisting arrest is Luffy's hobby, but too bad for him because his freedom always comes with a 1-year subscription to jail. Now, to be a real pirate, a Jolly Roger is a must. You can't just call yourself a pirate without one, right? No. So after gathering his crew and receiving a ship as a gift from Usopp's friend Kaya, which, let's be real, is probably one of the best gifts Luffy's ever received, Luffy's ready for the final touch, a Jolly Roger to make it official. So being the captain he is, Luffy decides to take matters into his own hands and paint his flag. What do you think? Nice, huh? Our mark should be scary. It should strike fear into our enemies' hearts. If our enemies were terrified infants. Hey, it's quite the mess, but hey, they got something, right? Still, Luffy, this one's gonna need a serious redo. And who steps in? But of course, Usopp. The guy's basically a one-man band. He's a sniper, repairman, inventor. So you see, there's a crew MVP award. Oh, Usopp would win it every time. So Usopp with his mad skills helps Luffy and the crew get their proper Jolly Roger. That's the what. So we finally settled on it. This is gonna be our mark. Sure is. Hey Usopp, maybe not so helpful this time, huh Usopp? But after getting bonked by Captain Luffy and bounty hunter Zoro, Usopp finally nails the design right. Ta-da! Looks a lot like you on that flag. Ja. So, how do you like this one? Wow. And just like that, they're ready to set sail to commit piracy. Because they're real pirates. Luffy isn't just some loudmouth shouting, I'm a pirate for fun. Throughout the entire series, he's attacked Marines countless times. And stolen treasure whenever he got the chance, like in Skypiea. Check out this gold. But then we found every piece on the island, and even has an entire pirate fleet under his name, Luffy. Therefore, in rain or in shine, we shall serve as his sword and his shield. Those are all acts of piracy under maritime law. That's a straight 14-year sentence. Oh, and let's not forget, you can't just slap any flag on your ship either. Flying a false flag, yeah, that's illegal too. That alone could earn you up to 5 years in prison. So when you add it all up, Luffy's looking at a total of 19 years behind bars. Going back to the Egghead arc, Luffy's out here committing crimes like it's just another day at the office. But for me, two really big ones stand out, and trust me, they are juicy. First up, you can't just stroll into a top-secret government facility like it's a casual walk in the park, but Luffy, you don't care about any of that. Senior Senator, come on the law, steer, round get top. The five elders want to off Vegapunk because this guy knows too much about the world and them. Basically, he's the government's worst nightmare. So they send CP0 after him to shut him down, and to get his life saved, he asks Luffy for help. Tada my request, and take me out to sing with you. You make it sound like we're all just going on a picnic or something. If you disappear, it'll be big news. This might put an even bigger target on him. Luffy, it's Vegapunk. He's the smartest guy on the planet. You literally have more reasons than anyone to not decline this request. Okay, your head looks funny, so why not? I like that a reason. Hip 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 hip. Splendid. Somehow I had a feeling you'd say yes. Alright, hit us goal. We didn't love you so much with facepalm consistently, but let's just add this to the sound stally. Entering a government top-secret facility that's 10 years in prison and helping a criminal who's defying the entire world government. I mean, that'll add another 20 more years. Total sentence, 30 years behind bars. I have to say, Luffy, looks like you're really living up to that pirate lifestyle. Now, when you have a character like Luffy, he doesn't discriminate when it comes to throwing hands. It's no surprise that even kids aren't safe. And for Momonosuke, he's the perfect example of Luffy's unique approach to tough love. From the moment they met, we knew their dynamic would be interesting, to say the least. But I don't think anyone thought Luffy would go this far, actually beating the kid. I don't know. Stuart, I'm more shit scare you at. I do it here. Oh my. Don't even get me started on the Zoe arc. Look. Oh, even slapping a kid can get you in trouble, but here, Luffy didn't just slap Momo. You wiped the frackin' floor with him. Child abuse can carry a sentence of up to 20 years. Multiply that by 2 incidents, and Luffy's looking at a whopping 40 years behind bars. Guess what, Luffy? Momo might forgive you, but the justice system definitely won't. Getting into fights is basically part of Luffy's daily routine. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he can't sleep unless he's thrown at least one punch by the end of the day. But sometimes those punches go way too far, and Luffy ends up committing far more serious crimes like mutilation. Yeah, it's no longer just a good old brawl, it's crossing the line into some serious next-level violence. Let's start with the most iconic one, his fight with Arlong. Arlong put up quite the fight, but there was one moment where Luffy took it to a whole new level. I finally figured out how to save her. Not only did Luffy break Arlong's nose, but he also broke his pride. And if you know Arlong, that's basically a double KO. Now fast forward to Dressrosa, Luffy's second major case of mutilation. This time it's not just some regular fishman, it's an actual warlord of the sea. Yeah, we're talking about Doflamingo. But it wasn't just a Luffy going too far. Law played a huge part in the carnage as well. Together they took down Doflamingo with a devastating combo. Law landed the first deadly blow. Oh my, what time I gotta Hawkeye City. Yeah. Gamma hurt. And just to make things worse, Luffy joined in with his signature attack. The move didn't just hurt Doflamingo physically, it forced him to use his Devil Fruit powers to heal himself, which reduced his strength. And in both cases, these aren't just typical battle injuries, they're clear acts of mutilation. And in the eyes of the law, at least, Luffy could face up to 40 years in prison for these crimes. Well, we all know everybody loves him, he's the certified joy boy of his generation. Mulderu. Nika. But sometimes his actions don't exactly fit into the heroic or pirate playbook. In fact, they land him squarely in the criminal category. Nande Orinolaga, because you're a criminal, Luffy, and one of those crimes, kidnapping. Yep, that too multiple times. Starting with the Fishman Island arc, Luffy learns about Shirahoshi and her situation. What a horrid thing to do. He can't stop himself from helping her, but his helping ways could raise a lot of eyebrows. So what's the deal with Shirahoshi, you ask? Well, there's this guy, Fishman. This creepy Fishman wants to marry Shirahoshi. So, I suspect Princess Shirahoshi has got these dangerous powers that make it too risky for her to roam freely in the palace. You can live as my wife or stop living altogether. Let me give you another token of my love. An axe with a rose on it. That axe, it's going straight to Shirahoshi. That's why she's locked up in a protected room. But Luffy encourages her to step outside, seeing her as a friend, and he wants to help. Of course, Shirahoshi hesitates, but she has a little trust in him. Danger? Hey, it sounds like it finally stopped. Did I mention that despite her giant size, Shirahoshi's actually only 16? Yeah, she's a minor, so did Luffy ask her dad for permission? He just grabs her and drags her along. Let's go. Break through. Back along. And this isn't the first time Luffy's kidnapped a princess. Seems like he has a bit of a talent for it, actually. Nah, I'm just kidding. Technically, Luffy did kidnap Rebecca in the Dressrosa arc. After the final battle of the arc, Rebecca, now Princess Rebecca, is caught in the middle of royal drama and tough choices of my past. I was a criminal, and someone of my low breeding could never marry royalty. This is better for her. Luffy finds out that father and daughter are making sacrifices for the Get a Dressrosa. You know, he's not going to stand for that. So he storms into the palace, yelling Rebecca's name louder than a buster call. Hey, tell me where you are. Seriously, Luffy, can you ever work stealthily? Come on, man. But hey, it works. He finds her, and with a little convincing, Rebecca agrees to go with him. They're off on their way for a father-daughter reunion. Okay, don't let go, Wayang. Even though Rebecca consented, she's also a minor. Now, these two cases fall into a bit of a gray area, but sometimes Luffy's actions are straight up malicious. Take Broly and Caesar Clown, for example. In both cases, it's clear Luffy committed kidnapping. Talking about Broly, well, she was kidnapped by Luffy for her devil fruit powers, which he used to escape Whole Cake Island. Nah, and that's creepy. Even Broly, who's no stranger to weirdness, was terrified by that smile. Luffy really left a lasting impression on her, a really bad one. Now, my name is Brue. Crap, there you are. What a hopeless pulaya. Similarly, Luffy and Trafalgar Law kidnapped Caesar Clown to put a stop to his experiments and cruel actions. Plus, Caesar was a major player in Doflamingo and Kaido's plan, so capturing him worked to their advantage. Jinzo alkama na minamoto its kuteta no ga? Fugenai asili. Odoroki desu. They technically held him hostage for 3 whole arcs, and if you know the Straw Hats, living with them is no joke. This crew is made up of some serious weirdos. Now, if Luffy were convicted of kidnapping, you'd be looking at up to 20 years behind bars for each act. And with 4 solid kidnappings on his record, that's 60 years in prison. Next time you want to help someone, Luffy, maybe get the proper permission first. Alright, hold on. You made it to the halfway point of the video, and if you're wondering where Luffy stands on his sentences, well, he's already racked up 223 years and 6 months behind bars. That's a lot of time, but don't get too comfy. This roller coaster's just now heating up. Stick around because things are about to get even wilder. Ever just a regular pirate in the One Piece world, sneaking onto a rundown island or a no-name country might fly under the radar, but Luffy, he's not interested in small-time gigs. Every few arcs, he somehow manages to trespass in places even the Yonkos would hesitate to enter. First, there's Any Slobby, a world government stronghold. With a little help from his trusty gum-gum powers, Luffy stretches his way right to it, ignoring the plans of his crew. Supposed to be with us? Wait, where's Luffy? Huh? He was here just a second ago. Yeah, let's face it, Luffy's got his own set of rules. Who needs strategy when you've got some stretchy limbs and a stubborn attitude, right? Then we have Impel Down, another prime piece of government property. This place is so dangerous that even government officials are terrified to enter. But again, Luffy, he charges right in. With a little help from Hancock, all to rescue his brother Ace. But it's not just government property that Luffy has a habit of trespassing on. Next up, we got Whole Cake Island, smack dab in the middle of Big Mom's territory. Again, one of the most dangerous places in the world. No. And who could forget Wano Country, a secluded, heavily guarded land where even the world government wouldn't step foot in, but Luffy walks right in like it's a Sunday stroll. Me knows, right? Now let's talk penalties. Trespassing in places like Enies Lobby and Impel Down could land Luffy 10 years behind bars, and trespassing on islands like Total Land and Wano, each of those could add at least 20 years to his sentence. All said and done, his total sentence for trespassing alone would be 60 years behind bars. Good luck with that one, Luffy. Hope your stretchy limbs can handle the long haul. Luffy has a real talent for breaking things. He doesn't discriminate against public, private, or government property. It's all up for grabs in his world. And one of Luffy's earliest property damage stunts was smashing Captain Morgan's statue. This is just Luffy's way of saying, "Hi, I'm here." But that was just the appetizer. Things escalated during his battle with Crocodile in Alabasta, where Luffy destroyed a lot of buildings in the Tomb of the King. Speaking of cities, in the Water 7 arc, Luffy took things to a whole other level when he literally wrecked an entire building. He also has a special love for destroying world government property, especially their ships. And who could forget his epic entrance at Marineford? Dropping an entire ship right into the middle of the battlefield. Oh, and let's not overlook the time he obliterated 3 marine ships at once while departing from Alabasta. This guy just keeps breaking his own records. It's impressive. And keep in mind, this is just pre-time skip destruction. Let's move on to his post-time skip rampage. On top of wrecking ships, Luffy is also taking out government pacifistas without hesitation. In Punk Hazard, Luffy and Law managed to destroy the entire lab used for creating artificial devil fruits. A critical asset for the world government, but none of the big players have taken action. It's like everyone has been. While it was Law who ultimately sliced the lab apart, Luffy played a pivotal role in their alliance, keeping Caesar Clown busy while the plan unfolded. The fallout from that shook not only the government, but even the Yonko, specifically Doflamingo and Kaido. Speaking of the Yonko, by the way, Luffy's chaos didn't just stop there. He's also responsible for the destruction of Big Mom's wedding cake. Look, as I said at the beginning, whether it's public, private, or government property, Luffy does not discriminate. He's out here destroying everything. Considering the sheer scale of destruction of statues, cities, ships, and islands, and that frackin' cake, he's looking at least 100 years in prison. One thing I've learned from Luffy's approach to property, if it's in his way, it won't be for much longer. Can you guess what the most heinous crime Luffy committed in the pre-time skip arcs is? Sure, the list is long, but the one I'm talking about here is the granddaddy of them all, declaring war against the world government. If you're not quite grasp the weight of that, let me remind you, the world government controls a vast number of nations across the One Piece world. So when Luffy declares war, he's essentially going to war with every single country under their control, and that's a pretty big deal. And what was this all for? To save his friend, Nico Robin. Those idiots. You can't fire on a government flag. That's crazy. Now they've done it. Those pirates. just declared war against the world government. You're all going to die. You morons can't challenge the entire world and expect to win. Yeah, bring it on. Now, as cool as that scene was, Luffy sent up Robin and all, throwing down with the government like a true badass is gonna land him a prison sentence that's way longer than he probably ever imagined. While there's no specific law for declaring war against the world government, still, Luffy could be easily charged with terrorism, treason, and sedition. And those charges, they can pile on a lot of time, say, life imprisonment for a solid 100 years minimum. So yeah, Luffy, it looks like you just dug yourself a really deep hole this time. Luffy is notorious across the world for his violence against Marines. After all, he is a pirate, but he doesn't just throw punches at low-ranking officers. Luffy is known for attacking some of the highest-ranking government officials and even warlords. Take Enies Lobby, for example. Luffy went head-to-head with CP9's Bluno and Lucci. Bluno, dude didn't stand a chance. Just look at how Luffy handled him. But now you're just uttering nonsense. You sure you didn't hit your head? Once Bluno was out, it was all Luffy. No way this mid-tier boss could land even a single hit on him. But when he faced off against Lucci, things got intense. Still, in the end, Luffy pulled off a classic I'm still standing pose. And then, Luffy unleashed his final blow, Jet Gatling, and that was it. Keep a close eye on Nico Ramen. She'll grow to be more than you command. Another high-ranking official down. But Luffy's not just out here taking down government officials, he's also got a special thing for warlords. Chronologically speaking, the first up is Crocodile and Alabasta. Kind of a similar vibe to Lucci, right? Then there's Gecko Moria. His move too. This was the last hit Moria took from Luffy, and the rest of the damage came from the castle behind him. And finally, we got Don Quixote do Flamingo. This guy was a pure menace. His laugh still haunts me to this day. Thank goodness Luffy took him down, or Dressrosa would have been finished. After Luffy's final blow, Doflamingo is captured by the government and sent to the depths of Impel Down. So Luffy's taking down quite the lineup of high-ranking government officials, members of CP9, warlords, and all. For Lucci, a CP9 member who later joined CP0, Luffy could easily face 40 years behind bars. As for the warlords, beating 3 of them is a serious offense. Given their power in the world government, Luffy would be facing a 50-year sentence for each of them. That's 150 years right there. And in total, we got 190 years behind bars for this section. Being a pirate is already a crime in the world of One Piece, but when you get involved in overthrowing the government or supporting rebellion, that's a whole new level of trouble. In Dressrosa, Luffy and the Straw Hats didn't just overthrow a tyrant, they teamed up with revolutionaries, gladiators, and even toys, yes toys, to take down Doflamingo, one of the warlords of the sea. Today will go down as the day of reckoning. Luffy broke down the whole system by wrecking Doflamingo's birdcage and then finishing it off with a King Kong gun that punched Doflamingo through the bedrock. But we made it through the Colosseum earlier. But about the little people. Turns out that Toy is the commander of this here. Not only did this act scream rebellion, but it also involves heavy conspiracy through secret meetings with Toys and Tantata dwarves. Similarly, Luffy also brought down Drum Island's King Wapol. He took down Wapol and helped Dalton, a brave warrior, rise as the new king of Drum Island. This is Luffy's thing. He doesn't just visit islands, he's like the world's least quiet demolition man, toppling tyrants and swapping out leaders like at the game of musical chairs. Now, in Wano, Luffy didn't just lead a small crew. This was a full Avengers-level alliance. Samurai, locals, pirates, everyone teamed up to bring down Kaido and Orochi. Hodekido Sebunayu. Churini Moyuru Monoro Katiu. Wanera Richuge. Finsing Muriaswaya. Talking about Onigashima, Luffy's raid resulted in the complete obliteration of Kaido's stronghold. Don't. Kaida? Ibza? Ina. Okawa makasera. Engdo tanoma. Orela Kaido. That's terrorism, plain and simple. The entire island is plunged into chaos, and in the aftermath, Momonosuke becomes the rightful shogun, handing Wano back to the Kozuki clan and sails off like he didn't just upend an entire government. Now let's rewind to Enies Lobby, aka the Declaration of War tour. Luffy invaded a government-controlled island, burned the world government's flag, literal treason, and bulldozed the CP9 operatives. Imagine storming the FBI headquarters. Yeah, that's what Luffy did. And it wasn't just terrorism or rebellion, this was Luffy starting a war. Finally, Marineford, the crown jewel of rebellion, Luffy went toe-to-toe with the Marines to save Ace. Luffy. He broke through the defenses, freed prisoners, and escalated the battle into a full-scale war zone. The world watched as Luffy, a rookie pirate, took on a global superpower and lived to tell the tale. Conspiracy and rebellion each can land you 10 years in prison. Terrorism, that's 30 years. Add it all up and Luffy's looking at a whopping 230 years behind bars. Luffy's resume is more criminal than most pirates' dreams. Hitting someone is one thing, but delivering a blow so powerful that it seriously harms them, that is a new tier of crime, and Luffy's definitely been there a few times. The most famous example is when Luffy landed one of the hardest punches in anime history when he took on Bellamy. Straw Hat. You... Oda loves revisiting moments, and in Dressrosa, Luffy runs into Bellamy again. Though Bellamy's more mature, his loyalty to Doflamingo leads him to attack Luffy, resulting in another devastating punch from him. So we can treat Bellamy, watching him feed him senseless his baby thirsty. So long, Straw Hat. You... But there's one punch that can easily get added to this list. The final punch Luffy landed on Kaido. There's no way Kaido's just walking away from that with mere bruises. It's gonna take him a while to recover from an attack like that. And just like Kaido, remember when Luffy sent a cracker flying through the hull of Toto Land in Whole Cake Island? Doctor. It's clear this isn't your typical assault, but sometimes Luffy does more than just one deadly punch. In Sabaody, when the worst generation took on the Marines, they didn't hold back. Luffy certainly didn't, going all in with force. Don't forget Marineford, where Luffy's anger reaches a boiling point. Not Luffy, we get it. You got beef at the Marines, but harming them with a bullet, that's not exactly the way to go. Ace, as the big brother, it's time to tell your little bro to calm down. Well, first we might need to teach Ace how to handle his power around regular folks. Aggravated assault is a serious crime in the real world, and it can land someone 20 years for each case. Well, if we're doing the math, which we are. Luffy committed it at least 14 times in those clips alone, racking up a total of 280 years in prison. For the next time, maybe you should sharpen your dodge game rather than throwing deadly punches. Breaking into Impel Down and freeing 200 prisoners is bad enough. Let's not forget the other crime Luffy committed there, involuntary manslaughter. Remember when Luffy fell from level 3 to level 4, the aptly named Blazing Hell? What we've done? Yeah, we're sorry, honestly. They weren't kidding about that name, and things got intense real quick. When the guards tried to stop him, Luffy didn't just defend himself, he sent them flying straight off the bridge. Shoot him, he stopped right there. That? Here, oh, dumb god. There's no way those guards are making it out alive. In fact, no one's coming to save them, because the priority at that moment isn't to rescue them, it's to stop Luffy at all costs. Now, this isn't the only time Luffy's actions have led to some deadly consequences. Remember when he used his Red Hawk attack at the beginning of the Onigashima invasion? And don't. There's no way those people are surviving that blast either. Don't you think you're overdoing it a bit, Luffy? Just there's a small suggestion from one of your fans. These incidents are clear cases of involuntary manslaughter. Luffy wasn't trying to kill anyone. He was just trying to stop or defeat them. But thanks to his reckless actions, people ended up actually becoming dead. Involuntary manslaughter carries a sentence of 6 years per victim. And in both of these clips, at least 50 people might have died. Multiply that by 6 and Luffy's gonna have a whopping 360 years in jail. Yikes. Luffy's not one to back down from a challenge, no matter how big the opponent may be. Whether it's kings or gods, they'll throw hands with anyone who crosses his path. Size, power, none of that matters to him. That being said, the first king Luffy ever defeated was Wapol of Drum Island. Sure, Wapol's a lousy, tyrannical ruler. Still, he was the king of a nation nonetheless, under the world government's umbrella. Taking him down, that's a major global offense. Then there's King Neptune of Fishman Island. Luffy didn't personally throw punches here, but his crew Zoro, Brook, Nami, and God Usopp decided to wrap the guy up like a piñata. I swirled a minor glass. Everybody died. You aren't helping the situation, Soul Jade. Are you feeling any better now, Your Highness? Since Luffy's the captain, that crime lands squarely on him. But let's talk about the heavyweights, Don Quixote do Flamingo. At the time, he wasn't just Dressrosa's king, but also one of the warlords. Did Luffy care? I wrecked him anyway. Now, he probably didn't know Mingo was a celestial dragon, but his ignorance here is not an excuse, especially considering another moment where Luffy did know. Remember the time he landed a monumental punch on St. Jarlos, a bona fide celestial dragon, or a Norik Baitur? Yeah, that punch could cause Luffy generational consequences. Attacking a king comes with a life sentence of 100 years, and attacking a celestial dragon, that's crossing every possible line. A 200-year minimum for each offense. Final count, 700 years in prison. Luffy's gonna need a good lawyer, or maybe a whole fleet of them. Niggas are true. Niggas are true. As a pirate, Luffy seems determined to smash every law in the book, and one thing he excels at is being a guiding light in prison breaks. Luffy's first ever jailbreak also landed him his first ever crewmate. Yeah, I'm talking about our not-so-official navigator, Roronoa Zoro. In the Romance Dawn arc, Luffy helped Zoro escape from Captain Morgan's clutches, he'll just end up dead on these sticks. So let's do it. Haha, so you're finally gonna join my crew. This is not exactly the traditional way to recruit someone, but hey, when you're Luffy, why not throw a potential crewmate straight into a life-or-death situation? Works like a charm, apparently. Speaking of crewmates, Luffy didn't stop there. He went up against the entire world government just to free Robin from their custody. And, Frankie too. Almost forgot about him. Yuhi? Orgaki. Or what? You can Marini. Manny Varget. Not a cup. That was emotional, sure, but laws don't care about feelings. And then there's the granddaddy of all jailbreaks, Impel Down. Luffy didn't just survive the most secure prison in the world. He waltzed in, stirred up chaos, and helped 241 prisoners escape. Yeah, 241 criminals. Even though they are all criminals, you have to admire them for pulling this off, man. I'll never go back to that hellhole as long as I live. Yeah, man, double crime. I'm heading home to be a family man. Suck it, diary, okay? Pure Byrie. And the icing on the cake, this wasn't just a regular escape, it was the biggest breakout in Impel Down's history. Now, legally speaking, aiding a prison escape can land you up to 5 years in jail per person, so let's crunch the numbers here. 241 prisoners from Impel Down, plus Zoro, Robin, and Frankie, making a total of 244 prisoners. Multiply 5 by that. And just a second, yeah, that's 1,220 years behind bars. You know, with the way Luffy goes around in one piece, it's clear that we can make a whole video just about the man's assault record. Seriously, the guy never stops hitting people. In fact, let's shine a light on some of the incidents where Luffy committed full-on battery and assault. First off, the poor Marine guards. These guys are like the punching bags of the series. Every single arc, you can bet Luffy's gonna lay the smackdown on them. He'll pull a toast knife. What did that? You breathe? Down. Those are just minor incidents that happen between the arcs, but when it comes to full-scale wars, Luffy's assault count skyrockets beyond double digits. Take Enies Lobby, for example, where Luffy tried to take on the entire Marine Force by himself. No need to take beat she. No need. You want to know how many Marine soldiers he single-handedly defeated? It's not 50, it's not 100, not even 200, it's 500. I'll be neutral. Jav, say what Chief Justice, there's trouble, sir. And then we've got his conqueror's haki. Talk about a literal and figurative knockout move, whether it's on the battlefield or Marineford. Or on Fishman Island. It easily affects a large number of people. But hey, it's not just the villains who get Luffy's wrath. His own friends aren't safe either. Take that one time when VB slapped Luffy for saying something insensitive. Instead of trying to understand her feelings and acting like a grown-up, but what does Luffy do? He responds as something a little more. Damn it, Boop. Even the rest of the crew thought that was going too far, but hey, it's Luffy. He doesn't know how to do anything without a little extra added a hun. Speaking of his friends though, poor Zoro, man. You'd think the first mate would get a break, right? Nah, Luffy's punches are for everyone. Luffy. Ow. Let's get into some heavy math here. Across 32 arcs, Luffy's been involved in 7 massive wars or battles. If we assume he physically took down at least 500 people in each fight, and in the remaining arcs he's assaulted at least 20 people per arc, we're looking at approximately 3,860 people he's assaulted throughout the entire series. Add Vivi and Zoro to that list and we're up to 3,862. Luffy would be facing 10 years for each incident, adding up all the battery and assaults, and we're looking at a solid 38,620 years in prison. And let's be real, the only person in the whole world who can truly beat Luffy is Nami. I turned this shift up to that. Elders, you might want to consider hiring her. Alright, crew, let's dock this ship. After adding up Luffy's crimes, his total jail time is a massive 42,083 years and 6 months in jail. Not a typo. And wherever they put him in, it better be made of some sea stone, because we all know Luffy's not staying behind bars for long.